Welcome to the Check-in Report, man. We are on a late night edition. We are here to talk about the effeminization of hip hop and the history of it. You know, there's a big discussion going around about the effeminization of hip hop. They're talking about rappers like Drake with the nail polish. They talking about Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Yachty, NBA Youngboy. I mean, it's just a whole discussion about, rappers, with the effeminate ways, with the effeminate, actions, just looking crazy, doing things that are just, not indicative of masculine men, not indicative of men who carry themselves like men, like when men were men, But I want to go down the history of the effeminization of hip hop, because I believe that this has been going on since the inception of hip hop. And we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be walking down with it. But here is the image in question, of all the rappers. Here you have Lil Yachty. Here you have A$AP Rocky. You have Drake. You have NBA Youngboy. All sporting their nails. All sporting the polished look of their nails. And, suited and booted and gooted and looted. With that right coat of paint on their nails. And I don't find nothing wrong with having your nails being manicured. But when you start getting them painted, it's a little questionable. But here are the images that people have been talking about, and they're talking about how hip hop is becoming effeminate. It's becoming more feminized. You see the emergence of female hip hop artists. They're even saying that hip hop females are running hip hop at the moment. And Lil Boosie wrote a post. I should have put it on here. But Lil Boosie wrote a post talking about how male rappers are assimilating that they want to be women because they're getting their nails done and they're acting like women basically. But I really want to talk about how long the effeminization of hip hop has been going on. Now I want to put an image up on one of the pioneer groups of hip hop. This group that I'm about to put up is a pioneering group. This rapper is a pioneer of hip hop, and I believe they were one of the first groups to bring the effeminization of hip hop. Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. And of course, Africa Bambaataa has been linked. He's been well documented on this channel about being a booty bandit, for being doing things with kids allegedly. And when you look at this picture here, this doesn't look like masculine men. When I look at this picture, it doesn't give me the image of masculine men. I mean, first of all, look at the dude on the far right with the hat, with the little with the jacket on, with the leather pants on. I mean, these, if I was going to a bar, if I was going to a club, and I seen, dudes that look like this in a corner, I would go the other way. I wouldn't want to be in their section. I wouldn't want to be in their area. I wouldn't want to be around them. Somebody might, slip something in your drink. Somebody might, get behind you in a provocative way. You don't want to be in that position. But when you look at this picture, because they're claiming rappers like Drake, A$AP Rocky, Lil Yachty, Uzi Vert, they're bringing in the effeminization of hip hop. They're bringing it in. But here, this is a pioneering group of hip hop. This is a group that kicked down the doors way before Run DMC, way before Public Enemy, way before NWA, way before all of those groups. This was a pioneering group. Now look at them. I just want you to look at these men. These are not masculine looking men. They look like, they belong in a YMCA video. They look like they should have been in the Pride Parade. They look like, you wouldn't want to be around these type of cats. You wouldn't want to be around these type of dudes. On some real deal spill. If we're being honest, if we're being genuine about the thing. But they're trying to say that it's Drake, it's Lil Yachty, it's these guys who's bringing it in. But these are pioneering groups here. Now let's get into another group here that is another foundational group, another pioneering group, another group that kicked down the door for hip hop. And these are all groups that are, because let's be honest, Run DMC kicked down the door, for street hip hop. Because, when hip hop first came out, they tried to, mesh it with disco almost. Because you had groups like the, Sugar Hill Gang and, Good Times, and you had all of that. And they tried to mesh it in with that. But hip hop was a street culture. Hip hop was based in the streets. It was being warped in the streets. It was being engineered and crafted into the streets. But they tried to polish it up and give it that disco feel. Tried to give it that almost with a Parliament Funkadelic look. And these were some of the pioneering groups, because when Run DMC came out, they had the look of a street dude from Queens. They had the look of a street dude on the corner from New York. They looked like men, masculine men in their communities. They had the hats with the leather, with the Adidas on. It was a street look. It was a masculine look. But what we're taking a look at is the pioneering groups and their effeminate attire. Now let's get into the second group here. We have the Sugar Hill Gang. Again, not a very masculine looking bunch. Especially the guy on the far right. Then you got the guy in the middle with the purple jacket on. These, I see one guy with I don't think those are Hermes belts. The guy on the far left, those look like some crazy S&M type of belts. But these are not masculine looking men. These are not, when you guys are coming at Drake, you're coming at the Lil Yachty's and the Lil Uzi Verts, I need you guys to do a history lesson. Look at some of these pioneering groups. Look at what they're wearing. These are not masculine looking men. These are not masculine looking clothes. You wouldn't want to be in the section with these dudes. You wouldn't want to, if you was hanging out with your boys. Let's say it's a couple of you and your boys, and you said, I'm gonna meet you at the crib, and your boys hopped out the car looking like these fellows. You would have been like, you know what, dog? Let me tell you something, man. I'm gonna go back home, because I don't want to be seen with you guys that looking like this. This is not masculine attire. These are the men who kicked down the door for the effeminization of hip hop. It was here very early. Pioneering years. When hip hop first got on the scene, they tried to bring in the effeminate look, the effeminate attire. From the beginning. But you guys are trying to put it on these rappers now. I will admit, it's an evolution. of what these dudes laid down, but these guys haven't started it. You know, Drake wasn't the first dude. I mean, we could take it back to Cameron with the pink, with the 2 earrings in the ear. Some say that was effeminate. We could take it to Tupac with the nose ring. Some say that was effeminate. We could talk about, you know, male rappers that had tongue rings. They're not gonna say that they. I believe I'm not gonna put that on. I'm not gonna put that on because I don't know for sure. But you know, I've heard that a couple rappers had male rappers at that, not female, male rappers had tongue rings. And they tried to, you know, tried to say, oh, well, you know, it's for my girl, you know, it's for my girl. That's why I got the tongue ring. Nah, dog. I'm not believing that. I'm not hearing that. But we could take it back and we could really look at the stages. Kanye West with the skirt. Remember Kanye West with the skirt? A$AP Rocky with the skirt. Jim Jones with the rock star look. And the tight pants. Lil Wayne with the tight pants, the colorful tight pants. Kanye West again with the scarves and you know, the metrosexual look, if you will. So this thing has been, you know, evolving to get to the point where rappers are wearing nail polish and getting their nails and their feet done. So we just gotta look at the history of where these things come from, because you know we're so quick to get on the guys in the front, the guys that are popping, the guys that are prominent, the guys that are at the forefront of hip hop. But when we look into the history, we realize that these things have always been there, and the industry have been trying to implement these things, trying to, you know, throw these things into the culture, throw these things as a part of hip hop. Because let's be honest, you know, more than likely, I don't believe these dudes. These dudes is from the hoods of the Bronx or Brooklyn, from, you know, the slums of New York. I'm sure they wasn't walking around the hood before they got a deal looking like this. But when they got that record deal, when they signed the contract, and the A&R or the record exec or whoever, you know, looked at these dudes from wherever slums in Brooklyn or Bronx they was from, they was like, you know, we gotta, you know, let's throw the light-skinned dude in a tight red jacket. Let's throw the other light-skinned dude in a tight purple jacket. Let's give this guy over here with all these, let's give him a bunch of S&M belts. This is what they did early in the industry, trying to implement these looks, trying to implement these metrosexual. And of course, it was the 80s, because you know, it was a lot of weird clothing in the 80s. You know, but this is before the dope boy look. This is before the high top fade. This is before the Adidas tracksuit with Adidas pants. This is before the Carl Canai. This is before all of that. This is before all of that. So let's get into the next image here. But that was the Sugar Hill Gang. Here we go with this next image. Here we go again. Africa Bambooty. Out here with the flamboyant outfits. These dudes look like they selling incense and sage and oils. These look like some Kemet brothers, Kemet on Trial brothers. That's what they look like. You know, it's not a masculine look. But these were the men that pioneered hip hop. So when you talk about guys like Drake, Lil Yachty, and all these guys, because you know they're claiming that it's them. They're claiming that it's Drake, it's these guys, it's that. You know, these are the guys that are, you know, with the effeminate. You know, Boosie. You know, Boosie, he's just a bumbling idiot. He's always, you know, bumbling something. Always bumbling something, acting like he knows anything. He doesn't know anything. He's just a lost N-word, if you want to be honest. That's for another video I'll make one day about him. But a lot of these people don't know the inception of where these things come from, because they think that, it's just these things evolve. It takes for Africa Bambaataa to come out with the weird clothing, so the next rapper could come out with the weird clothing, for next rapper to come out with the weird clothing, and then I remember in the 80s, I think somebody had a high top fade with the blonde streaks, and then you go to the Tupacs with the nose earrings, and you go to the Cam'rons with the pink and the two earrings, and you go to the A$AP Rockies, the Kanye Wests with the skirts. These things evolve. So, the effeminization of hip hop, the effeminate part of hip hop, it's been here. It's been here since the pioneering days of hip hop. Let me go back to that. One image. Hold on. Let me see if I can get back to that. Because that one was crazy. The one with this image right here. This is crazy. Like, come on, dog. The dude on the far right, like, come on, dog. There's no way he got that hat and that jacket in the men's section of any clothing store. There's no possible way. That had to be from a woman's store, or either that has to be custom made. There's no way. There's no possible way that outfit, look at that hat. And is there a feather in that hat? Oh my goodness. I know the other dude, he's dressed like a Cherokee Indian. But these were the men, these were the pioneering men of hip hop. They kicked down the doors for Drakes and then the little yachties to be running around with nail polish. So, I just think that, a lot of people are being a little too hard on the Drakes and the little yachties. Like, these guys didn't start it. If anything, these guys are carrying the tradition of the effeminization of hip hop. But they didn't start it. Don't make it as if they started it and not hold the pioneers, the Sugar Hill Gangs, the Africa Bambaatas, a lot of the earlier groups, the Houdinis, a lot of the earlier groups, the pioneering groups. They were the founding fathers. They were the groups that came out when hip hop first came out. Think about it. When hip hop first came out, they were the visual aesthetic. So when hip hop first came out as a genre, as a music, these men were the visual standard. This was the visual standard of hip hop. Think about it. Run DMC. Let me look that up real quick. Run DMC debuted. Like, when was their first album? Their first single? It might have been 84, 85. Let me just fact check that real quick. I can look that up on my phone. Let me go to Apple Music, see when their first album dropped. Run DMC's first album. Run DMC, the first album, 1984. And you gotta think, this is Africa Bambaataa. This is early 80s. This is like 80, 81, 82-ish maybe 79. This was the first visual aesthetic of hip hop, of Africa Bambaataa. Run DMC even come out to 84. So when that 3-4 year period, this is what hip hop looked like on TV. This is what hip hop looked like at a concert. This was the visual aesthetic. So when we talk about the effeminization of hip hop, we have to look at the origin. We have to look at where these things come from, where these things started. Don't just point fingers at Drake because he's the biggest artist and you see him wearing nail polish and you're mad, you're aggy, you're filled with where has hip hop gone? I can't believe, on your old head, baby. I get it. But you need to hold these pioneers responsible, or any of you old heads that love the founding fathers of hip hop, are you gonna hold any of these men responsible? Are you gonna hold any of the dude on the right? Are you gonna hold him responsible for wearing that outfit? Are you gonna hold Africa Bambaataa for all of the things that they're accusing him of? We're not gonna get into that, but are you gonna hold him responsible for allowing this to be the first visual aesthetic, the first visual of hip hop? This effeminate look, this effeminate attire, this effeminate clothing. It's something to think about, and it's something that people have to look at the origin. Look at the origin of these things. Stop pointing fingers. Stop pointing fingers. Drake wasn't the first one. He wasn't even the first ladies rapper. Some of y'all might think it was LL. No, it was Curtis Blow. Curtis Blow was the first ladies rapper. Then it was LL. So you guys gotta, people have to look at the origin, look at the history of hip hop. I'm a student. I consider myself a hip hop historian. But look at the origin of where the effeminization of hip hop first began. It first began with the first groups getting those record contracts, getting those record deals, getting those, contracts, and those A&Rs, and those, because you got to think this, they don't know what hip hop looks like. The A&Rs, there was no hip hop division in, the record labels. There was no hip hop, department. There was no hip hop. There was no lead A&R for hip hop back in the days. So they threw whatever they felt like on these dudes. Some of these dudes were street dudes in their hoods. Some of these dudes was gangsters in their hoods. They was known. They got busy in their hoods. But when, their friends, their family picked up a magazine, they went to go see them in a concert, they seen a music video, they had to look at their mans on the stage looking like this. How would you feel? What would be going through your head? But and listen, say what you want. It was cool. I don't see nobody with a frown in this video. I mean, in this picture. They look happy. They look like they having a good old time. They was probably touring the world at the time. But a lot of you need to look at the beginning of these things, the origin, where these things come from. And those are my thoughts. This is the Check-In Report. Thank you for joining me on a late night edition. I just wanted to do a live really bad, and the talk of the effeminization of hip hop was one on my mind. And when people talk about the feminization of hip hop, when they talk about Drake, when they talk about Lil Yachty, they never get into the origins of these things. So I wanted to talk about the origin of these things. I thought it was important. I thought it was something that I needed to talk about, that I needed to get into. So once again, thank you for joining me. This is the Check-In Report. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Toodles. Have a good night, man. We out.